Welcome to the Sonrise Pastors Podcast. Today, I am joined by some of our pastors, my dad, Dan Hammer, my wife, Grace Hammer, and our other pastor, new youth pastor, Noma Hedman. She's not new to our team, but she's new to leading youth. And we're talking about Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and impacting the next generations. We talk about dumb phones, identity confusion. We tell stories. We talk about parenting and how to bless, how to teach and instruct the young ones coming behind us, because we want to see a move of God from generation to generation. Please like this, share it, subscribe to our channel, and help us spread the word. I think you're really going to enjoy today's conversation, and we have a special testimony from Amber Cantu that's going to be powerful. You don't want to miss this episode. Thank you. It's been awesome to see the move of God's Spirit amongst our young people.
It is.
In the last, I don't know. Well, I mean, throughout the history of our church, but It seems like in the last couple of years, there's been, just how God met them at the Way Conference.
Absolutely.
I guess it was last summer. It'll be spring this year, but last summer, and then at camp, and just everything. It's just been continuing to happen.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember they still all talk about when they all went on the platform and the Holy Spirit just touched all of them, and they all just fell out slain in the Spirit.
Yeah. They're just all hungry for the Lord. And one of the things I said to them last night, we're excited for what God's going to do. And, for so many of you really got impacted at camp last summer, and they were like, and cheering about camp. And I'm like, but what's the difference between camp and a Wednesday night?
Yeah.
And they just stared at me. I'm like, you're the difference between, because Jesus is the same, Holy Spirit's the same. So we want to have camp experience every Wednesday, every Sunday, because he's the same. Yeah. And so they were like, let's do it. So.
And I think part of it in that is that we had to tell people after a few years at EMEA that, when you're away for 4 days and you don't have homework or chores or, the TV to get your attention or something to do, you're just there for a prolonged period of time. It's like a mission trip.
Yeah.
If you're gone for like 10 days and you don't have to do the dishes, or you might help with the dishes, but you don't have the regular. It's
not
just
the normal responsibilities.
It's a lot easier to get tuned into the Lord, and you realize how many distractions there are.
Yeah.
Like during the week they come, they probably had homework. They might have to go to a basketball practice. When you're at camp, you don't have to worry about all those things.
Exactly. Right.
So I said, when you get back, it's going to be a little different. You're going to have to learn how to navigate during your everyday schedule of spending time alone with the Lord and making it a priority.
You want to see their hunger.
Yeah, hunger
to meet God every week.
Yes.
And then if every Wednesday feels like camp, then every Sunday feels that way in church. Yeah. I mean, even what God's doing in our church services right now, every Sunday feels like a conference to me.
Yeah.
It's like people are so hungry and expectant, so then camp will be even more awesome because it won't be like regular camp.
Exactly.
Just keep setting the bar higher as kids stay hungry for the Lord. And just even like a young man said he'd been looking for his church that embraced the work of the Spirit. I just met him on Sunday. And, he looks like it's hard to know because I think I look young, but I think he's probably 10 years younger than me.
You do look young.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's because of my wife, right? You, babe.
No, I'm horrible with age.
Yeah. Well,
I always think everyone's my age.
Yeah, right. But anyway, he's there, and he's so he's just saying, thank you for this church. I've been in a really dry season. I've been looking for a church like this that embraces the work of the Holy Spirit, but also has preaches truth and has direction and kind of care for the way you practice spiritual gifts corporately.
Right.
He's like, 'cause I've just been in a lot of environments where things just got crazy and nobody got up and said anything or helped direct what was happening. And he's just like, thank you. He's like, I have so many things just to say, to share how I'm being impacted, but all I can say is thank you. And he's kind of teary-eyed, and I'm like, this is so cool how God's bringing people in. We just met a guy, Cromwell from Kenya, who's been caregiving and watching the sermons online on YouTube. Awesome. And he just showed up last night, and he's like, as soon as I walked in the door, I just feel like I'm at home here. And he asked us to pray a blessing over his vehicle, because that's the pastors do that in Kenya. They got a brand new car, so come set it apart and pray over a blessing over it. So it's cool to see how technology is being used and how people are coming and just hungry. People are so hungry for God in this area right now. Right. It's just been incredible. And and just to see the young people, the young adult men and women and the youth the children, the way God's working amongst our younger crowd, it's been pretty awesome. And there's been a lot of talk in church about Gen Z, lately. And I think it's a good emphasis that Gen Z's supposed to be the largest generation, right? Actually bigger than boomers.
Bigger than boomers.
Yeah.
And then Alpha is projected to be the most populated generation ever, like in the history of the world.
Well, could you read
help us out?
One thing? Yeah.
Can you help us out, Noma? What are the
What are the different John?
All right, yeah. What are the age gaps? Because Gen Z is like, their age like 12.
So Gen Z would be 12 to 27 years old right now. So that's 1997 to 2012, and then Gen Alpha is 11 years old and younger.
Okay.
Yeah. So the early 2010s up through 2025 as for right now, and then it'll go longer than that as well.
They're still being born. Right?
They're still being born.
Yeah.
Gen Alpha is still here.
Well, it's kind of funny. Like I've even seen charts where they're talking about the generations, and maybe I have a chip on my shoulder a little bit, but like it'll go
It's the
boomers
Xer in you.
and go right to millennials, and I'll be like, "What happened to Gen X?" Because I'm barely in Gen X. Like some people have made up the term Xennial, like the bridge between X and millennials. Yeah. But I'm right there, 1980 baby.
Well, and Gen X and millennials are so vastly different in the way we were raised and the way all of that. And so I think that there is kind of a chip that comes with the Xer. I'm an Xer, but on the kind of the tail end of it. But that, we were the first generation to be left home alone. We were the first generation. We were the latchkey kids. We were the ones that kind of had to figure things out on our own. And so then you have Gen Xers having millennials and Zers and not wanting them to have to go through that. And so then it kind of created this almost different world than what we were raised in.
Yeah. Well, you're millennial, just barely.
The first of the millennials.
You're the first. You're number one.
The forerunner.
Yep, that's right. You're the oldest of the millennials, and I'm the baby of the Gen X right there. But one of the things that has been interesting is to see, like, even millennials, Gen Z, like really good at using like technology.
Yeah, right.
But our nephew showed up the other day, and there's actually articles on this where like Gen Z is starting to ditch their smartphones and go after dumb phones.
Yeah.
And so there's like a dumb phone movement, which is like the most basic things. Our nephew has the light phone, which has it looks more like a little miniature Kindle. If anybody's seen like a Amazon Kindle, like the black and white version, it doesn't have like a glowing screen. It has like almost like a matte finish to it, so it looks more like paper.
Yeah.
So you can get like maps on it, and you can text, and you can call, and you can like download or sync music to it from like another device. And I think you have a calendar. So you have things you can do for like basic functionality in black and white, but no video, no games, no distractions, basically.
That's awesome.
So anyway, it's just fascinating to see the backlash, I guess, against.
Well, I mean, there's studies coming out that kids don't even like talking on their phones. Like they're afraid to talk.
Yeah.
They just rather text. And
Yeah.
It's altered the way they think.
Right.
A whole society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that article that you saw?
Oh,
yeah.
So there was an article I saw that talked about when girls are stressed by tests or things in life, when they're talked to by their moms, the stress hormones dropped and comfort hormones rose. When they just used IM, instant messaging, nothing happened. They were still, the stress hormones just stayed the same.
So
So it's something about the mother's voice that releases a comfort hormone in the girls, and it rises to help them.
Did it matter if they were in the room or if it's on the phone call too?
I think it was in the room.
Yeah, so like their presence, physical presence, and their voice.
Yeah.
The warmth of a mother's love.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
What's in these chocolate chip cookies? Mother's love.
That's right. A spoonful of love. I've done some research on Gen Z and Alpha recently, and one of the things that I have found is that Gen Z is considered the loneliest generation, which breaks my heart, like
Yeah.
as a mom, and the loneliest because of all the tech and the social media and everything, because it's really created this false sense of connection.
Yeah.
To where they actually have more connectivity, more availability to be connected than ever, any generation, but they're the least connected because it's just behind a screen. And that they're actually, like what you said, they're wanting that connection. They want transparency. They want to be vulnerable. And there hasn't really been a place for them to do that because everything is so locked in the screen.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if the whole COVID era, the 3 years of being locked down, separated, locked in, everyone is like that fear placed, don't talk to anyone, stay away, 6 feet, whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder if that elevated everything too.
I think it did, and there are some studies on it that show that it did do that and they lost so much in that time. Things that are normal, kind of milestones for high schoolers, junior hires got taken away.
Yeah,
and so there's such a sense of loss for Gen Z as well in that, because of all of the things that they had to give up, and they didn't get to have, the graduations and the normal things that would be these celebratory milestones. They didn't get that. And so there is that sense of loss for them as well. So.
Yeah. Wow. It's like, I think it's just not normal to be masked up, to not see each other, and like then you're like your brain's like in a critical development phase. I mean, I'm no expert on it, but that's a lot what I mean, obviously like the brain's being developed a lot in your like child and teen years. So to like interrupt that normal process for like 2 or 3 years is gonna have a big outcome. But I guess it's interesting, like our human needs like never really change.
Right.
Like generation to generation, we can like talk about all the differences and all the uniquenesses, but like also we're all the same.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember one comedian was like talking about how like, I was at my friend's house and he's going on and on about, look at my kid, he's only 2 years old and he knows how to use remote control like this. He knows he's so smart. Look at my kid. And he's like, every kid knows how to do. He's like, because we're all the same. He's like, quit bragging about your kid. He's like, and I think that it's true. There's a lot of similarities, and really we have the same core needs. And I was like kind of marvel at that. Like even like Jesus's his instruction to like go preach the gospel, make disciples, heal the sick, cast out demons. Well, people are still in need of forgiveness of sin.
That's right.
People still need healing for their physical diseases. Even thank God for medicine and doctors, but even with the best, not everything's gone that ails us.
Right.
So people still need physical healing. People still need their demons cast out. They still need comfort. They still need love. They still need community. And only the church, really, the church is the only place that can really provide true community, something spiritual, like, and it's the only place in society that's kind of left. And I think people are so hungry and so longing, like people don't realize how much we have and how much people are missing, because a lot of people don't have family. They live behind a screen, or or maybe their family's so busy, and just getting to go connect and be around people. We've even seen a couple kids, I'm thinking of one at least that's come recently to our youth ministry, that I don't know that he's a Christian, and he just seems like he wants to check out what church is like. Like he's just interested. He heard about Jesus, and it's like, I got to go find out if churches have, real places or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think because some of the core things that we all need is we all want to be seen. We all want to be known. We all want to be loved. And those are core things that we need. And a number of months back, I was ministering to our youth, and I asked the question, if you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be? And all of these ones came out, and it was just like, did you notice not one person said invisibility? Because nobody wants to be invisible. I mean, even the most introverted person still doesn't want to be invisible. Right. They want to be seen. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be loved. And so behind the screen, we got to remember that there's a real person, communicating and putting things out there. And so, nobody wants to be invisible.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I think that's why engagement with people is so important. People are looking for, like you said, community, that they're cared for, that somebody notices them, that somebody remembers them, that somebody is there for them, no matter what generation it is. Older generation, younger. I always try and engage young people at church, find out things about them, find out, what do they like. Like one of the girls, Kiara, was coming by me in their wheelchair, and I said, "Hi, Kiara," and she waved at me. And her mom said, "Did she respond to you?" And I said, "Oh yeah, she waved at me." And she goes, "She did?" And I go, "Yeah," but I've been reaching out to her because sometimes you can tell she doesn't feel like she fits in, or and just acknowledging people that you see they're there, that you care about them. Today in man prayer, they were talking about washing people's feet, and when I woke up the last few nights, I found out if I'm having trouble sleeping, if I start to pray, in about 10 minutes I fall asleep. That doesn't work for my wife, but it works really good for me. And then I have to remember the second time I wake up, okay, where was I and what I was praying for?
Yeah.
But there's these two men that have been on my heart. So when he said, if there's someone you can serve, I just walked over to the men and he said, I want them to know how much I love them. So I just told them, when I've been waking up, the two of you have been, I just felt you were going to be here this morning. I was supposed to pray for you. And they really opened up their hearts because somebody was saying, that I was thinking about, they go, "You were thinking about me?" And I said, "Yeah, well, I think God was thinking about you." And God just wants you to know how, and I watched both of them open up in a way they don't normally open up.
Yeah.
So sometimes when we just reach out to people, people are responding because someone cares about them, that someone acknowledged them, someone thought about them, someone remembered their name. There was a lady that came to the Randy Clark conference, and she said, "Hi, Pastor Dan." I go, "Hi, Rainbow." She goes, "You remember my name? How do you remember my name?" I go, "Well, I met you a long time ago. You're Hugo Chan's sister." I can't believe, she's screaming, "I can't believe that you remember my name. You are a genius."
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I'm not a genius. I just remember people's names."
Especially when it's Rainbow, because you don't meet
it's a little easier. It's a little easier to remember Rainbow than Susie or Sarah, because there's a lot of them. But I think too, acknowledging that we care about people, that they're in the middle of the crowd. Tom shared about it that this morning, that Jesus sees us as individuals, not just as part of the crowd. And I think a lot of people feel a part of the crowd, but they don't feel like nobody notices me, or I'm not. And everybody longs for that.
That's right.
And it can be an unhealthy way, but in healthy ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I know sometimes, like when some of my family members are at church, I know they're on a mission, but some they'll say hello, and they'll go, "Oh," like one of the grandkids, "Hi, Papa." And some of them are a little more observant, but sometimes I have to realize, okay, they're seeing all their friends. I don't take it personal, but sometimes I just say, "Hey, remember Papa?" And they go, "Oh yeah, Papa." And some of the kids at certain ages like their grandma and grandpa to be there, and sometimes you realize, okay, it would be awkward for me to get in the middle of that thing right now, so I don't get in the middle of it. And learning those little nuances
might be a little cringy for him.
Oh, it just reminds me of Zacchaeus, though. I mean, he was up in a tree and Jesus saw him and said, "Hey, I'm coming to your house."
Yes.
And he was like overjoyed. So,
It's a great witnessing tool. Invite yourself over for lunch.
That's right. Hey, I'm coming
to your house for lunch. Hey, what are we going to have?
Well, I think that it's really simple in a way to start making connections with people, is show them attention, express love. But I think what's happening with young people, which is kind of, I don't know if it's a paradox or maybe it's more ironic. The world is kind of sending this message that you're amazing, be you, be the best you, be true to yourself, live your truth. Anyways, it's like a very, you would think it's like a very, we even use the word affirming. That's what the culture kind of uses, we're an affirming culture, affirming school, affirming church. People will use that kind of we don't use that as Sonrise as an affirming church, because that means something different than biblical love. But I'm saying in the culture, people will use that language, right?
Right.
And so it should, you would think on the one hand, in a rational way, that would mean that the kids would feel more loved because they're being told, you're okay, you're amazing. But then they're more depressed,
Yeah.
isolated.
Right.
Suicide is a leading cause of death for young men in our country.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like what's happening right now is devastating.
Right.
Yeah.
And so where young people need love and attention, they don't need to be told whatever you feel is true. They're being lied to as well
Right.
about basing their life on their feelings. And there's a guy named Carl Trueman. He wrote a book called Strange New World, which is kind of like a layman's version for a bigger book he wrote called The Rise and Triumph of a Modern Self. Anyway, in that book, he traces kind of like the main thinkers that have influenced Western culture and how hundreds of years ago, even a few hundred years ago maybe, we didn't really think of life, people didn't think of life through the lens of their feelings. Like that is something that we evolved into through different thinking and different beliefs that have been introduced by different like philosophers or psychologists or communists or just different thinkers, scientists throughout history. So now it's like, if I think something inside, I believe this is what the world would say, then you try to make your outer world conform to your feelings.
Right.
So it's kind of like your feelings become your truth, and then you make other things that look, feel, and seem true try to get into line with your emotions or your beliefs or your thoughts or your desires. And that's really backwards according to the ways of Scripture, right?
Right.
Is that we're supposed to live, Christians should live from the inside out in the sense of the rulership of the Spirit inside you, and conforming everything to His truth of what He says about you, but not in your flesh, not in your own human understanding.
Yeah.
And so with the trans movement and identity, like young people are being sent all these messages that I think are producing incredible anxiety
Yes.
and depression and confusion,
Right.
because literally you have people telling kids like, pick your gender, pick your identity, like kids can't even pick their career path. I mean, even as adults, it's hard for us to know, like, all the time, did I choose right? Am I on the right path? Should I try something new? Should I go back to school? Like, and then you're going to let somebody who's in development that's like 7, 8 years old, like picking,
or younger.
or younger, picking, even toddlers, I guess, in some cases, and then taking puberty blockers and hormones and prescribing surgeries and things that would alter them for the rest of their life. And what's interesting is even like Europe and the UK right now, even the mainstream media is now starting to pick up like sex change regret or the therapy stuff, the hormone replacement stuff that would move somebody towards trying to appear like the opposite sex or opposite gender of what they really are at birth. They're starting to get, even the mainstream culture, it seems like, is starting to backlash and go, no, there's all these kids, like, they're being damaged. This is like criminal. Anyway, it's sad to see what's happening, but I think that we have to be this voice of compassion and be present and be loving, but we have to bring truth to people because only truth sets people free.
That's right.
And not everybody wants to hear the truth right away, but it's like that's what'll set people free.
Exactly.
As a, mom of 4 teenagers, I feel like it's really concerning and alarming, the statistics that are coming out. Like the news media is now just they have so many articles about the effects of the Gen Z generation on their phones. Like it says social media, which many Gen Zers have used for most of their teenage and adult life, exacerbates these issues. No other generation has had such immediate and unfiltered access to the news for most of their lives, which can lead to stress, anxiety, and other mental health issues. And they're scrolling through all these things, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, there could be a war, or there's a riot here, or and it's just like all this information,
anxiety producing.
And so it causes me to get off your phones. I'm gonna lock your phones up. Because it's mental health is a
Get
number
them a dumb
one.
phone. No.
It's so true what Grace is saying. In my generation, the news was more reported. It wasn't so much an opinion, and there was enough stability in people's thinking and thought process that it wasn't, like for us in 1960, there was the threat of Russia using Cuba to bomb America. And you had the big standoff, and there was thoughts of earthquake, but the general feeling, because there was much more in community. Like when I went to church, Mount Lake Terrace United Methodist was where often the city council met, all the people. So everything. I went to kindergarten in First Baptist Church, so the churches cooperated with the community. And I know my dad always said to me, he said, I think it would be wise for a church to build like a community center, where the community could come and there could be places for kids to play. And why do you just have a church building and something separate over here in a Christian school? What if you just had it all in one place? Where, because in the old days, the community came together and people cared about each other, and you knew your neighbors and you knew your community. And like I could go 3 neighborhoods, north, south, east, or west. They all knew my name. I knew their dogs' names. They could discipline me. They would say, Dan Christopher Hammer, that your mother said, if you pick that apple, I can spank you. I said, I was just looking at it. I wasn't going to pick it. So,
Sure.
everybody in the neighborhood knew.
Yeah.
But there was also a security in that like we had a couple, the Kelly Koas, and she was Hawaiian, and she was a big lady. We called her Mama Kelly Akoa. But she was like everybody's second mom, and they'd have luau's, and everybody came.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was included, and I think, the information age for this generation is so bombarded. I don't even really listen very much to the news, because none of it really interests me very much. Because once you get after the one scare, there's the next scare and the next scare. And I think teaching young people particularly, what's most important is, God's will.
Yes.
And that you do God's will.
Right.
Because a lot of times I think we even pray, or, you build up, like John and Grace and you were talking about, Noma, that you build up this anxiety about all these different things, when it really gets down to God has a purpose for your life. He cares about you. It doesn't really matter what's saying. If, like I heard in a John Maxwell thing that we did, everybody was telling John Maxwell he's an amazing leader and he's amazing this and he does everything amazing, and he was the bestseller, and everything that he wanted to happen was happening. And then his older mentor got him and said, man, New York Times says you're amazing, the church world says you're amazing, everybody says you're amazing. He goes, I want you to know you're not amazing. You have amazing gifts, but the minute you think you are so amazing that you forget what got you here and you don't stay humble before the Lord, he said, God could take all those things away from you. And people can make their choices, but they can't determine the consequences.
That's right.
And we're going to see the consequences of the decisions people are making with transgender and all those things. The consequences of disobeying God are still the same in every generation.
That's right.
And I think helping them by building relationship with them, that we can speak those things into their life, because they know we love them, that we want their best, we care about them. Really, really important.
Well, I think part of it too is we've just gone down this real slippery slope. I think when you were talking about when the news was trusted, it was because it was reported. Now we've just got opinion, and when opinion becomes truth, or a pure truth, then anybody's opinion becomes truth, and that's not truth, and they're Gen Z and Alpha, they get all their news from TikTok. And if you've ever watched any TikToks, like, TikTok will tell you to eat a Tide Pod too, right? So, which will kill you.
Right.
So, when all that's swirling is opinion, which opinion are they going to grab, right? And so they've got all these opinions coming at them, and they need voices to state, no, but this is true. That's opinion. That's what they think and feel, but this is true.
Right.
Well, what do we do to get the truth into the next generation, to not live according to their feelings, right? But to live by God's truth.
Well, I feel like we're in a season of setting the plumb line back, so that we have a generation to show them this is the truth. This is where you need to go, because like you were saying, or like we've all been talking about, is just this generation of young adults and kids, they're being told constantly that the truth is whatever you want it to be. And so setting the standard, say this is God's truth, this is what we need to line our lines up. I feel like it also brings a comfort to that generation, because they know that, I can trust this. This is what I need to line my life up with.
I think, as much as kids might fight against it, really everybody finds safety in boundaries.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be these boundaries where this is not a line we cross. This is the line in the sand.
Right.
It's God's word. It's God's truth. And there is, like you're saying, there is safety in those parameters. There is safety in boundaries. All kids want them. They'll buck against them, but they really want them. They feel safe.
Right.
And it kind of gives them, like, I remember there were times that I would be like, okay, I was invited somewhere, and I would say, Mom, just say no.
Yeah.
Just say no, right? I mean, then I could say,
still
oh,
do
my
that.
mom said no, I can't go, you know. But there was safety in that, because, you know what I mean? And so I think every generation, we long for safety, we long for truth, we long to know, you know, that I have a standard to look to, that I'm not trying to do this on my own. And I think we have really put on the generation to figure it out on yourself, because it's whatever you feel. Well, they're like, well, just tell me what to do. Tell me where to go, and I'll do it. I can't do it on my own. And we're like we're giving them all of this room to just go off of your feelings, and that's not going to get them anywhere.
There was a lot of truth too in what you guys are saying with what my dad was sharing about consequences. I think one of the ways we have to pour into the next generation is let them see the good consequences of walking in the truth.
Right.
Like set the example, because a lot of when we were doing youth ministry, and we would get that question, or sometimes from or even just pastoring, like, how do you get your kids to, like, you know, in our circles, it'd be like, to be on fire for Jesus, or to be like wholehearted, you know, devoted Christians or whatever. You know, I want my kids to pray for people at restaurants and give prophetic words to strangers. And so I was like, well, do you pray for strangers at restaurants?
Do you model it?
Do you give the prophetic words to different people in your life, and they get to see that? Yeah. Do you model it? Are you that example to them? Because I think when people live out their faith authentically, you know, not they're perfect, but when people live out their faith, they're humble. Like when parents or the older generation lives out their faith, like, it's attractive to a young person.
Right.
I remember hearing of a guy who, like, converted to Christianity out of paganism, because one day he started analyzing all these older pagans, and he realized that they weren't, in his estimation, they were not wise. They weren't turning into wise elders as they got old in their older years. And so he started thinking, well, where in society do people become wise elders? And through all of his research, he found that Buddhists and Christians, so he started studying the claims of Buddhists and Christianity, and he's like, I want to follow Jesus. You know, I'm going to become a Christian. But the longing in his heart was, who grows mature, wise, successful, like, who would you want to copy? Who's becoming a pattern? And so I just think that was such an interesting route that God brought him to faith. But, like, that's really significant, I think, for where we're at. Like, part of it is, like, you don't like what's happening with Gen Z or Gen Alpha, be the change you want to see. Like, set a compelling example before the next generation of what life looks like. And to me, that's somebody that's saturated in Scripture, because that's the source of truth. Right. And then you're somebody who's practicing their walk with Jesus, you know, like, they're living out their walk with Jesus by practicing the Scriptures in obedience. So they're a person that prays. You're generous. You forgive people. You do what's right when nobody's looking. You have fun.
You're not on your phone all the time.
You're not on your phone. Oh.
Connected.
Hey.
Knock, knock.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, we talk about that. Like,
Get off your
just
phone,
wish my
John.
kid would put their phone down. Well, do you put your phone down?
Right.
Yeah.
And that example is so important. It's like Jesus said, you are a city set on the hill. People watch us.
Yeah.
Much more than we realize. So to be a city set on a hill means everybody's watching. The world's watching what we're doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when we first started the church, there were people, and they'd be sitting there, they're smoking a cigarette outside. And I can't understand why my kid smokes.
Yeah.
And I'm watching them smoke, or they're drinking. I can't understand why my kids got into drinking and drugs. And I said, well, you're drinking all the time, and they see you drinking. And and if, you know, people that didn't come to church said, I know why my kid doesn't want to go to church. And I said, well, you don't go to church.
Right.
You don't show the value. Like when we have John and Grace's kids over, and David and Darcy's, and now Hazel, we always get on the bed and at night and pray if they're staying overnight, and they'll say, tell us the story that they'll remember stories about what we told them about.
Yeah.
And they'll ask us to tell them the stories and say, why do you think that happened? And here's the little Paige. She's 5 years old now? She 4 or 5?
Yeah, right around there.
Yeah.
She just turned 5, didn't she?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think she just turned 5. Anyway.
I'm bad with age. She's
So
my
I
age.
said, we were talking about something and we were asking questions, reading out the same Bible that we read out of when I told them, this is the Bible that your mom and your dad, we read out of. And so I said something, I look at Paige and I said, so do you believe in Jesus? She goes, yes. And she goes, how about you, Papa? So I pointed right back and I said, yeah, I love Jesus.
Yeah.
And they all started laughing, all the other kids.
Yeah.
But they'll remember those things that you spent time doing that. You spent time praying.
Yeah.
Like your mom and dad, you build a generational model of this is what we do.
Yeah.
We pray.
Right.
We go to prayer. We attend church. We don't. This is just what we do as Christians.
Yeah.
I think it's so good you said about the good consequences, because I think we're so quick to say, if you do this, then this is going to happen. Like we're quick to say the bad, but we need to really bring forth the good of truth. And if you do this, your life will look like this. If obviously we can't guarantee how life will turn out, but the principles, in the Word lead somewhere. And so we need to be bringing that, and to remember, like what you were talking about, being a city on a hill, like we are all reference points for people. Right. And it's like, what is the reference point that we're going to be for the next generation?
Yeah.
How do we want them to see us? How do we want them to see Jesus?
Yeah.
And how do we want them to know that their life can be because they're looking to us?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't jabbing at you, just so you know.
Oh,
when
I
said
know.
wait,
I was just kind of being silly.
I just meant everybody.
I was being funny.
But I think another thing to do is to instill speak words of life over the kids. Because even nowadays, like our kids are 18, 16, 14, and 13, and they still say, your words are powerful. Your words are powerful.
To each other, because you instilled that to them.
Yeah, because I said, your words are powerful. If you say that, then...
Yeah.
But I think, too, it's important, because I have 2 older, so 2 in Gen Z and 1 in Gen Alpha, and 2 on the older end of Gen Z. And when they were teenagers, every teenager goes through different things, angsty things and different things. And to remember that even though they're struggling or going through something, it's our job to call out their identity and to declare those things over them. So even if they're in a season of struggle, it's like speaking the words of truth over them. Like, this is who God created you to be. This is who you are. You're not your choice. You're not your feelings. This is who you are. And to continue to pour that truth over them, because words are so important and words are so powerful.
In the Jewish culture, the blessing, number 6, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord be gracious to you and make his face shine upon you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Like, that was a part of the culture, and the priest would bless Israel, but that became something that parents did around their family table or on Sabbath each week. They would bless, and then there was a tradition of the father blessing the sons. I bless you. I pray you be blessed like Ephraim and Manasseh, and pray over the girls. I pray that you'd be blessed like Sarah and Rebecca, Rachel and Leah. And so you are praying the blessing of the patriarchs of Abraham's descendants and of some of the matriarchs of the faith as well, because you're, in a sense, telling your children, this is who you're going to be. You're not like, what do you want to be? Do you want to, like, I hope you become successful. Like, I'll love you if you pass that test. I mean, obviously you got to, we discipline our kids too, but we should be a force of blessing and bringing affirmation, encouragement of their true character, their identity. I think that, in a lot of ways, the Christian faith, the truth of the gospel is that we rise to the level of our blessing, that we become a child of God before we behave like a child of God. Yeah. And so we want to bless our kids, and I think we do that. We try to do that each week at a Sabbath time. This year's been a little challenging with our kids' schedule, but we try to take 24 hours to chill and then to end with prayer and worship with a little extra time with God, with the kids. And I want them to want to be around us when they need wisdom, when they need, when they're in trouble. And I think in any relationship, if you evaluate, well, why do I like to be with that friend or be around that person? Well, they're kind to me. They'll tell me the truth. They're a good they, like they're faithful to their word.
Yeah.
It's just like that with our kids. Like they are our child, and so they better listen because mom and dad said so.
Right.
But we can win their hearts by being the kind of parent that we would want, or the friend that we would. Not that I don't think we should try to be friends with our kids in that sense, but by those characteristics, I think attract our children. And the other thing that I was hearing Bishop Joseph Matera talk about a while ago, and he talked with Grace and I before, and I was like, wow, I never realized that was like a thing to teach people, because I guess I just took it for granted how I was raised, and Grace has the same experience, and she runs our home the same way, is that like there's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. So like connecting with the next generation is like not just Bible studies, telling them what they need to do, but like we wrestled growing up. We went out to eat. We went on vacations. We laughed. We had, most nights that I can remember growing up were around the dinner table. I know some families lately I've heard are doing like they go around the table and they do have everybody go around and say the high and low.
Yeah,
our kids like to tell funny stories, and like they cut each other off, and we try to work on that a little bit, like listening. Like if a guest comes over, they're like, they want to tell all the best stories, so it's like a battle for who gets to talk. But I think that fun is super important.
Yes.
And I think, the little kids wanted to be around Jesus.
Yes.
And so like we like to present Jesus well is we would have to attract kids in the right way. Because that's Jesus. He and kids don't like to be around boring, strict, mean,
Pharisees.
Grumpy, angry Pharisees.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
I think what Grace said too about speaking life and what you shared about the Aaronic blessing. What's interesting is right at the end of that prayer, and it says, "This is how I will put my name upon them."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
So
right.
it's imparting His name, His character, His nature. When you speak the blessings, you're not only carrying on the generational blessings, but you're actually speaking the name of Jehovah over your children when you speak life.
Right.
And like today, we were with a bunch of grown men afterwards. They sit around the table, and they tell stories and share after man prayer. And there's a waitress there. She's fairly new, and so she had a bad back, and so when I got there, I said, "Would it be all right if I pray for you?" And she said, "Well, somebody already prayed for you." So, "Can I pray again?" So I prayed, and when the men knew she had a bad back, they started serving, and so she already knows these men's names. She said, "Oh, I look forward to you guys coming in, so you don't have to be religious or be weird or like you can help a waitress because she's got a sore back and she's the only one in the restaurant. She'll remember that you're the only people that help. Why did you help me?"
Yeah.
It isn't always about just standing on a soapbox and preaching. It's about in everyday life.
Yep.
And speaking life over people, like praying for people, or like Grace said, speaking life over your kids.
Yeah.
Encouraging them, and having fun. I mean,
Right.
we should have more fun than anybody on the
Absolutely.
planet. Not be religious and boring and.
That's what I tell the kids, man. We have 3 rules, and I feel like it can apply to our family.
Yeah.
And actually, I feel like as I was thinking, sitting here, I was like, actually, we do apply this for you. So the 3 rules are safety, teamwork, and fun.
Yeah.
And I said, we're going to have so much fun here, 100% participation, no cell phones. Just, we're going to supply the fun. But I feel like in our family, it's safety. It's a safe place. You can talk to us about anything.
Yeah.
We're going to protect you. Teamwork. We work as a team. We protect each other. This is, as a family. And then fun. We want to have fun together.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what builds
And then you
relationship.
teach them
memories.
God's
It's
rules
so
too.
good.
You do 10 Commandments with
I
the
do
kids.
the 10 Commandments first, and I go, and if you follow God's rules, these ones are going to be really easy.
Yeah.
First one is with promises. Honor your mom and dad.
Yeah.
I like when we go to Birch Bay, we have 2 rules, which we've gone there for since John was born, actually, or before he was born. You got to have fun. You got to go to the candy shop every night.
Yeah.
And then Haley's a negotiator, so she goes,
She is.
"But we want to have pizza every night." And I said, "No, that's not one of the rules."
Yeah.
Can we trade one night of candy for one night of pizza?
Yeah.
Negotiators.
Yeah. They like to
Speech and
negotiate.
debate has helped
But
them negotiate.
I think when Bishop Joe was talking to us too, he was stressing like the importance of when we're having fun, like that we keep an emotional connection.
Yeah.
And a lot of maybe Christian parents think that if it's you just teach them spiritual truth, that it's going to like get through. But he said, once you lose an emotional connection with your child, then that's typically when they turn away from the faith. And so he said, what I would do at all costs, keep that emotional connection. And I think it's hard sometimes. Like parenting is tiring.
Yeah, it's tough.
Even volunteering in kids or youth ministry, like it's there's noise, there's emotions, there's, especially in the middle school, high school years, there's hormones. So it's like so important to prioritize. Like, James 1 says that true religion or pure religion is to keep oneself unspotted from the world and to take care of orphans and widows. And so it's like taking care of the ones that maybe they don't have a lot to offer you. Like kids, you know what I mean? It's like I want to volunteer with the celebrity ministry, or I want to volunteer with the business networking, and we need people reaching celebrities in business networking. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, help with the kids. Well, like, what are kids how is it going to benefit your career, your destiny, your bottom line? It's like, oh, there's so much I could do to be productive. And this kid just wants to play board games with me, or wants to color, or wants to play with a ball, And it's like, but that's what pure religion is like investing in those that can't repay us, and valuing them. And I think when the church gets a hold of how important our kids are in our own family, in our church family, and we really invest in them, we invest our time, we invest our resources, that's how I think you change a nation. I mean, like Leif Hetland's talking to us, Papa Leif, about when you got three generations, you can change a city. When you can see the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And when you have generational thinking, and that's what we want. We want generational blessing to go to 3 generations and beyond.
And I'm hearing testimonies recently, just over and over, about the parent telling me, I wouldn't be here except my son wants to be here.
My kid wants to come.
My kid wants to be here.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. It's like these kids are drawing their parents back to the house of God.
Yeah.
And even these children are encouraging their parents, say, you're a powerful prayer warrior, Mom. Yeah. You should pray in the Spirit. And then the mom's like, this is bringing so much freedom to me because my son has encouraged me to pray in the Spirit. And so it's really been fun to see the kids
I think
do
it's
that.
important to remember, I think for so long in church, like church as a whole, there's been this separation, right? We've got main sanctuary worship, we've got kids over here, we've got youth over here, we've got all these different things, when really we're one body, we're one church. And so and to remember that Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they are the church. I mean, they're going to be the ones leading the church. And if we don't invest in them, we're going to be nowhere. And we're in a crucial time in the world, in Christianity, and all of it, because we've got 2 generations raising up that need moms, they need dads, they need brothers and sisters and aunties and uncles to come around and release them into who God's called them to be. I mean, the next generations, they have so much more availability to get the gospel out just because of the technology that's for them, and they're all proficient in it. That's true. And if we keep them siloed from the rest of the body, there's not going to be the opportunity to see them flourish. And they really need to be. There's no junior Holy Spirit. We say that all the time. It's the same Holy Spirit, same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead lives in us and lives in my 11-year-old. And
that's
and lives in our littles that have Jesus, right? It's the same Holy Spirit. And I know I might be taking it out of context, so but that it says a child will lead them, right? And we see in Joel that sons and daughters will prophesy, and if we don't give them opportunity to do it, then we're really hampering and cramping what God can do and what He wants to do.
Well, Bishop Joe also tells me a lot, and I heard him say a lot, Christianity is always one generation away from extinction. And so it's urgent that we invest intentionally in our kids and have our hearts turned towards them. And that's even the last scripture of pretty in the very end of Malachi, the very end of the Old Testament, is that God will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to the fathers, lest he come and strike the earth with a curse. And so the curse abounds wherever there is a breakdown between the generations.
Yeah.
But when there's a healing of generations, then the curse is broken and God's blessing flourishes. And so it's super important. Would you just pray over parents?
Yeah.
Gracie Lane. Yeah.
I just want to say one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
That if you look and see where the enemy's attacking right now, that's where we should be putting most of our eyes and our efforts. And right now they're going and trying to infiltrate the little schools, the elementaries, and trying to indoctrinate these little kids. And because the enemy knows if he can grab them, then there's a whole, like you said, one generation away from extinction. And so it's like that's where we need to really, put our armor on and go to battle, is for these little ones that are just, they don't even know what's going on. But so
that's good.
All right.
So pray for the parents.
Pray for the parents. Pray for us. We impact the next generation.
Well, Father, I just thank you so much for your heart for family and generations, God, that your eyes are upon us. And I just pray, Father, for wisdom and revelation to come on the parents that are raising up these mighty warriors, Father, because it's a ministry. Having children and raising them in your ways is a ministry. It's our number one thing that you've called us to do, and I thank you, God, for that. And I pray that you would just make people aware and bring a fresh revelation of this to parents, Father. And I pray that you would bring clarity. I pray that you would bring wholeness and unity to families, Father, where there's brokenness. I pray that you would bring restoration. And I bring that your truth would just wash over these families, Lord, that there would just be a fire of your Holy Spirit that would be ignited, that these kids would just begin to walk in your truth alongside with their parents, and there would just be this harvest of families that would come to know you, Father, and come into your kingdom, and that we would see your kingdom further advanced in this time and this season, Father, in Jesus' name.
Thank you, Lord.
Amen. Thanks for the talk today, guys. It's good. We're going to take a little while to interview a special guest as a part of this episode, and then come back together for a closing prayer. So please welcome Amber Cantu to our podcast. She shares a powerful testimony about what her family has done to help care for kids that are in need of parenting, whether it's for a season of their life in a stable home, or even people that would become adopted or under guardianship. It is really going to touch your heart and give you some practical information and faith for how we can make a difference in reaching the next generation this way. Well, I haven't even got to talk to you, but you had said I have a testimony about foster for caring for kids, and like we were talking today about the power of or the importance of reaching the next generation. And caring for kids and youth and stuff like that. And so I thought, this is a great week. As I know, it's kind of last minute, but so thank you for coming in. And I know sometimes we're trying to share them on Sundays, but this gives us a few more minutes to get it out there and let people tell their story and encourage people what God's doing in different areas that we don't always get to hear about, So really glad that you could come in and tell some of your story. It's awesome. Yes. When we just kind of keep rolling, so we're just like we're on, so we're good. Just we try to keep it conversational, not like totally formal, but just like we would be talking even if the mics weren't here, I know it's hard to imagine it sometimes, but well, in this part of our episode today, we are really honored to have somebody from our church family at Sonrise, Amber Cantu, here to talk to us. We've been talking about impacting the next generation and how important it is that our hearts are turned towards children and youth. And even James 1 talks about how pure and undefiled religion is to care for orphans and widows. And we were just discussing that towards the end of our other part of our podcast. And so I know that one way, and of course in our culture, that we care for orphans, and we don't really have orphanages or that type of language as much now, but we do foster care. as a culture and adoption. And you have some story about that, and probably lots of stories, but it's all one big story because it's your life, you know. So we'd love to hear about what God's doing through you and Arnold, and what He's put on your heart. And
Well, and can I just say that your kiddos, because we work with them, are the most joyful, energetic, fun, like smiling all the time kids. And that's a real reflection of your home.
Yeah.
And so we're always really impressed, especially Journey and Riley. They are so sweet. I love them so much.
Thank you. And they love you. We were actually watching your podcast yesterday, and my kids are like, isn't that Pastor Grace's husband?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And they're like,
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, oh, wow.
See, you're the famous one.
Yeah.
It's for where it matters with the kids. Yep.
Yeah, so that was super cool. Yeah, so they love you.
Oh, yeah, that blesses me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long have you been involved with?
Well, so when my oldest, who's 33, which is my youngest sister, was 12, we adopted her.
Okay.
And so that's how long?
Wow.
21 years.
21 years. Yeah. I know you don't always probably think and count, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta
I'm
pause
like,
for a second.
So for 21 years, this has been a lifestyle for us, and we've taken several other family members for short stints of time. Just to give parents, time to get their life back on track. And so, and that was outside of the fostering system or, tribal system. And so we've always it's been a lifestyle. We've always helped to maintain the family unit so that kids can be secure, but also parents as well. So we've always wanted, we wanted both parties to feel like you're going to be reunified and it's going to happen, and so we'll do whatever we can to help aid in that.
I've heard of some people, and I'm trying to remember who talked to me, some people I met more recently, that they're really involved in some, sounds like it's kind of newer programs too, but it sounds like what you're saying, it's been around for a while, where people aren't always doing fostering technically, but there's just giving parents a break to get stable, to get back on the right foot, and to kind of work with them. And the parents feel excited because they know they need some help for a while, but they know they're not losing their kids, and so there's a lot of hope. I forget they had a new name for it that I had never heard just a few months ago. And anyway, it's escaping me right now, but it's exactly what you're describing. Yeah. And I think that's awesome. So what's your guys' story? You started 21 years ago. And
so for me personally, my story goes back to childhood. I too actually was in foster care for a short period of time, and so I got to experience that, and the trauma of that, as I was processing as a teen and as an adult, and I went through counseling to get some help to maneuver through those feelings of, really feeling abandoned. And that was a huge thing in my teenhood, was man, I just, being separated as, a child was really challenging. And how it happened was also traumatizing. Being removed from your home and, thinking I'm never going to see my parent again, all of those things. And so when my sister, who was 12 at the time, I picked her up for the summer, and she was like, can I live here? Can you please take me? Can you, I was like, what? Why? And at that point, our mom was not doing well at all. And so we discussed it. We went and talked to my mom about it, and it was handled completely differently. But in my mind, I wanted it to be different for her as well. And then even moving forward from that, and then getting involved with the tribal foster care system, really, I was like, I want this to be as as smooth as possible for the kids and the parents. And so from the beginning, we were like, we believe in the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, that God
is all about redeeming the family unit.
Come on.
So we want you to know that we're not here to take your children. We're here to help you. And the best way we can do that right now is to provide a safe environment for your kids and then help you in any way we can with the resources that we have available to us. And I do feel like that has brought a lot of, I would say, emotional security to the parents, knowing like, hey, we're not here to take from you, we're here to add to you, and we're here to be a resource for you as well, and you know, and mentor them and love them and teach them like what, you know, essentially what I had to do for myself as a young mom, because I wasn't well parented growing up. And I needed to learn how to be a parent. And so I went to parenting classes. And so I just did whatever I had to do to learn, because I was like, I don't know. I never had a 5-year-old kid before. Is there a class on this? You know, and there were classes. And so I was like, great, you know, and so, just learning to be a parent. And so now I'm like, I'm always recommending like, hey, great, let's look up, where's parenting classes? You know, where's something that can help you? And but yeah, so I just, I don't like, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's just use the resources that we have to help you become the best version of you, because then that helps everybody, right? Your kids, your family, and us. So but really it was just me learning how to be a better human being, how to be a better parent, so that I could then now, I didn't know it then, but now I'm helping other people in the same places and spaces, just different dynamics, obviously. But just helping them and saying, I had to learn too. I had to go to parenting classes too. Like I didn't have the best, you know, I didn't have the best examples growing up. And so I needed to learn how to be that. So.
Amazing. Have you guys adopted some kids as well, or?
So it's called guardianship, permanent guardianship through. So for tribal, especially if you are not the same tribe. So my kids are enrolled in different tribes.
Gotcha.
And because of that, it is a little more challenging to maneuver through. However, permanent guardianship basically is the same exact thing. It's just we do not change their last name. And reason being is that the tribe always wants children to know where they came from, which I'm actually in complete agreement about. Seeing from the inside out what it's done to families, and then watching a lot of our tribal members coming home in their 50s, 60s, and 70s for the very first time, and finding their families. And it's something that there's been a lot of generational cycles and traumas due to being adopted out and not having your last name and not having something to tie you back to home.
That's powerful, actually.
So how have you seen God's hand orchestrate things specifically in what you and Arnold have been doing?
Honestly, we have had to pull on heaven for everything. You know, what I like to tell people is like, our congregation never goes home. Our congregation lives with us 24/7.
That's right.
And so, but when we get kiddos in, they all come with their own generational cycles and traumas, rejection, abandonment, sometimes from the different abuses that they've endured. They do come in, you know, with different challenges. And so we had to really be disciplined in hearing the Holy Spirit for each child, because each child is unique. And comes with you know different ways of processing, and so we have to really it's just by the grace of God every day that, you know, we're a functioning, happy family. Because there are times I'm just like, Jesus, you know, literally, I'm just like, Jesus, you need to help me right now. I don't know what to do, you know, and you got 7 kids pulling on you from 7 different directions, all needing different things. But then, you know, the grace of God is sufficient in all things. And I think that really also, the hand of God has provided us with an amazing community. And so I have a couple friends like Pat, like if I'm overwhelmed, you know, she'll just say like, what do you need? And I'm like, I have like 6 loads of laundry and this and that. And she's like, I'll be right over. Get all your laundry ready now. I'm going to pick it up and take it. And she'll like do all the laundry, fold it, bring it back, you know, and I'm just like, thank you. And my French, and there are times like they'll just, you know, say, what is it that we can do for you right now? Like, what is your need? And I'm like, I just feel like I need to get organized. And then like 3 women will show up and be like, tell us what to do. Where do we start? You know, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Thank you. You know,
that's
and
awesome.
so it's like every 3 or 4 months, you know, I have these women that come in and they're amazing. And these women are in their 70s. These are not like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, where do you guys get all this energy? Like, wow. And so, but yeah, so really it's like, the hand of God has provided us with an amazing community of helpers. And then we have amazing friends, Nate and Shaboran. They are absolutely amazing human beings. They have come in and helped us with our youngest set of twins and just like been like surrogate parents to them and take them on a weekly basis. They'll come in and take them for the night and just love them, you know, and they're just amazing. And then we have another friend, Kathy. She also attends Sonrise, and she has before my late son passed, she brought us a meal once a week, like literally, I'm not kidding, homemade meals, like amazing food. And she just was like, I want to do something that can help your life in a practical way.
That's amazing.
She's like, what can I do for you? And I was like, you know what, I'm having, you know, dinner, you know, and I didn't think it was going to be every week. I literally just thought like, I'm busy, you know, can you bring me a meal? That would be amazing. And then every single week for 3 years, I'm just like, wow, it was amazing. I was like, wow. And I literally, even when her mom passed away, she brought me a meal that week. And I'm like, are you kidding, Kathy? What are you doing here? And she's like, honey, I just kept thinking about how, you know, how busy you are with all these kids. And I'm like crying, I'm bawling, and I'm like, why are you here? Come here. And I'm just hugging her and like, thank you. But I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So just amazing human beings. And that's the thing. It's community. The hand of God has provided us community. It's provided us, you know, with amazing prayer partners and women that really can, you know, they don't just say like, how can we pray for you? But then they're like, oh, I'm going to meet this need. And they do, like when they call, like, how can we pray for you? I remember my washing machine, it was broke. And I was like, well, I'm going to the laundromat again. And this is like the 3rd week in a row, you know, I was like, man, I really, you know, and that afternoon, this couple, they want to remain anonymous, but this couple shows up to my house and they're like, here's all the paperwork, your new washing machine's being delivered on this day. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, that's amazing. We're like, oh my gosh. So just things like that, you know, throughout the years, just amazing things. And that just happened like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months ago.
That's amazing.
It was a recent thing. Yeah, so just amazing things. And that's really, that's the testimony, though, of community. That's the testimony of, you know, and these women all started out in Mother's Prayer Movement.
Oh, cool.
That's how I met every one of them.
Oh, wow.
From, you know, and so it's just been amazing to see, like, how it's, you know, that was our Jesus community, you know.
Right.
Yes.
12 years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's when I started going to Mother's Prayer Movement. It was 12 years ago. And so just that developing that community and friendship, and it all started in prayer. It all started in coming together and, you know, the oneness of lifting up our children to Jesus and then developing relationships from that outside of, you know, that one meeting, and just, you know, really we're a family.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I was going to ask you, like, how has the church helped you? You know, and you've already answered, just to see like how the church, and like, that was a good question. But also, what could the church learn more about, or what could we do as a church to do more support for foster care, adoption, you know, these, or guardianship, and these different types of things that you've been involved in?
I think the number one thing is like, really just asking the family, like, what can we do for you? And sometimes, like for me in the beginning, I don't want to say I was prideful, but maybe I just didn't know what I needed. You know what I mean? And so I just was like, oh, just pray for me. Just pray for me. Yes, we need prayer. But more than that, we do need meals dropped off.
Yeah.
You know, we need babysitters because a lot of times, you know, it's expensive. Like for me personally, with that many children. And so people don't understand, like, when I go to an event, it's not just me, like, taking that time to go to that event, but then it's like, you know, paying for someone to come to my house and then, you know, arranging everything, and just like, it's this big, huge thing. And most foster parents are like, I'm just so exhausted. I don't even know if I have the mental capacity to add one more thing to my schedule. Right. Yeah. And so, but just providing that, you know, like, okay, so, we want to provide care for you for a night, you know, maybe a date night once a month or something, you know, that these are just realistic things that people need. Like, when's the last time you connected with your husband outside of your home? You can ask that question, and they're probably not going to remember, to be completely honest. And so my husband and I have had to learn that we needed to be intentional about taking a time out for just us and not going to the grocery store, you know, but like going out, sitting down and like having conversation as human beings outside of, you know,
the chaos.
Yes.
Right. Well, I've heard that from somebody I follow online, you know, that like, you know, how many churches there are in America, and if every church could have one family that would take in one foster kid, and whether it's a scenario where it turns into adoption or not, you know, but that we could like solve the whole problem overnight. You know, like there's that many churches compared to how many kids need the care. But I've never thought of, and so I'm so glad we're talking to you today, just if somebody isn't feeling the burden or the call, or feel they're at a place where they could take in a kid, that they could help families that are. It's just like, honestly, I'm like, light bulbs, like, hello, why don't you think of that? You know, like, because I always think like, well, should we adopt a kid? Should we do that? And that is something that people should prayerfully consider. And we need that big time, but we need to support you guys. So it's like, I just touched me so much to hear about people helping with bring a meal, help organize, help babysit, bring over the washing machine. I imagine how many, are you allowed to say how many kids you have right now?
Well, I have 7.
7 in the house right now.
8 and under.
8 and under, So I mean, I know how much laundry we have with 4 kids in the house that are teenagers now. So I can't, 7 under 8 would just be like, oh my goodness. A washing machine is not luxury to begin with necessarily in our culture, but it's a necessity big time with that many kids in the house. So that's amazing opportunity for us. And like you said, I think that's the benefit of people being in a church and being in a Jesus community, being in a group of people that you get to know each other, you get to pray together, and it's like not always a program, it's relationship. You know, you start caring for each other, find out, oh, I can help you with that, it's amazing how the body of Christ helps each other out in so many ways, and how like we can't really do anything alone, but sometimes we think we can, you know, but then you get, especially when you take on a mission like caring for all these kids. Do you know how many have gone through your home over the years?
I was actually, I think it's like 38 children. We've had a lot of sibling sets of 3 to 4 siblings and at a time. So you've got to minister to over 30 children of God, you know, that pour into them at a crucial time in their life. And that's a significant ministry, you know. So thank you. Thank you for what you do and your faithfulness. We celebrate you guys, and we hope that we can be a better support even in the future. But it's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Is there anything else you want to leave people with if they like have a heart for this in some way? Or
you know, there are commercials that say like not everybody can be a foster parent, but everybody can help a foster child. And I really believe that is the truth. And and honestly, there are so many homeless foster children right now as well, that are, you know, sleeping in the buildings, you know, at like the DSHS buildings, because there's nowhere to go. There's not enough homes for these kids to go to, and it's crazy. Like in Seattle, they're paying sometimes they're paying like $500 just for people to take a child for a night.
Wow.
You know, they're like, we need a safe place for this kid. We can't, you know, and it's just challenging because the foster system is really overwhelmed right now. And so I keep looking at statistics and I'm thinking like, oh, are they going to change? You know, and I thought even through COVID that, you know, maybe with, you know, everyday families, how they're like, oh, we're going to start staying home and we're going to focus more on this and that, you know what I mean? Well, like we did, we're not doers anymore of being busy, but now we're more about the dynamics of the family unit and how all of the busyness was affecting our lives. And so now we have just made it a lifestyle of we're going to be busy about our family and about, because we are the church and we don't have to be at church 24/7. It's not actually healthy to be, you know, constantly, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you need time with your family.
Yes, we need to build our family unit. We need to maintain that. And so, and we recognize that, you know, we're anchored in our community and with our church, but also we're anchored in the home. However, that's the rest of the world was still doing drugs and they were still drinking and they were still having mental, you know, health crises. And matter of fact, it was actually elevated during COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that means that the system was actually being overwhelmed with more children and they already had a deficit in not having homes for these kids to go to. Right now, Washington State is outsourcing their children to other states because we don't. So not only are these kids leaving their families, but their communities and everything they've known, being transferred from schools and everything, like being uprooted and put into other states because we are overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I know that we can change that. And so my husband and I were like, you know, we got 7, so you know, but we're encouraging other people. I always hear people say, oh, I could never be a foster parent. I could never, like, oh, it would just break me. Yeah, you can. Anybody can. And to be completely honest, they really can. It's just that, you know, we know that it's going to break our heart, and it did over and over and over. But the Lord asked us very specifically to do this, and I did not want to do this because I had done it. You know, I had 5 kids. You know, I was like, hey, we raised our kids, and we got a call, and I was like, oh, probably not. You know, and they're like, well, are you sure? Because everybody in your family said to call you. And I was like, what? Why would you do that? Are you sure? You know, you called everybody. Thanks, you know, but my husband called and I said, hey, I just got a call from a CPS worker, you know, and they said they have a family of 4. And at that point in time, I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know this family member had 4 children. So I was like, what? You know, and my husband said, of course, didn't even like skip a beat. And he's like, anything for family. And I was like, oh, are you sure? You know, don't you need to pray about this? And he's just like, no, you know, of course we're going to take the kids. And I'm like, okay. And really, that really, I was in prayer and I went before the Lord and I was like, I know what this means. I know what this means because, you know, we 5 kids and our youngest at that point was 11. And so I was just like, oh, you know, we're just able to leave our house without worrying about, you know, the house burning down or, you know, you can finally leave your family to, you know, go for like a few hours. And now you're getting these little kids in again. And so, but I prayed and I just said, Lord, I was like, let this cup pass before me, please. But nevertheless, your will, not mine, be done. And the Lord said, Amber, will you take care of my kids? And I was like, you know, I literally, I was just sobbing and I was like, you know, I will. Why? Why me? And really it's because I was willing to learn. I was willing to be a good student. I had to be a good student of each and every individual child's traumas, their deficits, their disabilities, the delays, and I was willing to learn. And I think that as long as, you have a willingness to learn, and to be open to new things and to people, I think you can do it. And not everybody can be a foster parent, but everybody can help a foster family.
Oh,
Yeah.
And what if you say, well, gosh, I can't take on full time. Well, what if you could be respite for a day or two?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Right.
Like, families are tired, they're exhausted, and they're not sleeping. We've had, I would say, 70% of our children that we get in have night terrors. So that means we don't sleep at night. We're holding and rocking babies, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, because they are scared.
Yeah.
And which means we're up, late at night. And then when they're going through transition of, having visitations with families, and it starts to increase, kids start having, that's also brings on new traumas and fears for kids, because now their stability and what they know has, been their norm for, X amount of months or years has now shifted and changed. And so it affects their sleep. And so they're waking up crying and, and then again, so really, in all honesty, a lot of people just need to go away for the night to sleep, like new parents.
What was that word you said? Respite? What does that
respite.
mean?
Yeah.
It just respite care is where you just you can take a child from 24 to 48 hours, basically.
You get certified or checked or.
No, not if it's under 72 hours, you do not have to. You just get vetted by the family itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they would
So
have.
that's pretty easy to do. Just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So anybody can do that, and so you can, and there are people that do respite for a living, and they and so anything over 72 hours, you do have to be vetted, and you do have to get I don't say licensed, but you do have to be vetted, and you can actually get paid by the state too to do that.
Oh, okay.
So
there's a lot of resources if people want to get more involved on the practical level. Of course, they can support a family they know that does it, as we're hearing so well today. But what is this? Just contact your local DSHS office, basically, or
and actually you can Google foster care in your area. Foster care. So and if you so tribal's different. So I'm working with mostly tribal children, and so that would be specific to the tribe,
right?
As well. So so there's a lot of different ways to get involved, and if you are in a church or in a community where you're like, hey, matter of fact, schools know all the foster children. They're in their system. They know what their needs are. They can say, man, little Susie's had holy shoes. You could actually say, what size, I'll be there today and drop off a pair of shoes for, for that child. So there are so many practical ways to get involved. And then also another thing that foster kids do also deal with is, they are starting over, absolutely over. So they have nothing when they are in these homes, but the clothes on their back. And not even a toothbrush. I mean, I'll tell you, we had a gal that I remember just coming out with toiletries, and she's like, "What's this called?" And I was like, "That's called a toothbrush." And she goes, "I've always wanted one of these." And I'm like, I turned and started bawling.
Yeah.
And there was another little guy that we had went to Costco and came home, and I was putting the food away, and he was like, me eat this food? And I was like, yeah, of course, it's for everybody. And he goes, me get to eat this food? And I was like, yeah. And he freaked out and started running around in circles, and he's like, me get to eat food, me get to eat food. And I was like, I literally that was another time I just turned and walked away and started bawling. And I'm like, things that we take for granted, these kids are so thankful for. And it's just like, wow, and so so also provide snacks, and that's another thing. You can say, hey, are there who are the foster kids in my local school, and you can bring bags of snacks for them, and that will bring so much security and comfort to them during the week. Because they don't know when they get home, in the back of their mind, even though they might be in a safe, secure place now. But like I said, a lot of these kids are going and sleeping on the floors in their admin offices at DSHS.
Wow.
So you see what I'm saying? So that bag of snacks could mean the world to them. Anyway, so lots of ways to get involved.
Oh, man, amazing. Thank you so much for your guys' life and testimony and example. Hopefully it'll leave a big impact on everybody and open up doors for more support for these kids, because they're so near and dear to the heart of God. So we're really thankful that Amber could join us and testify and share and envision us with opportunities for how we can impact the next generation of kids that need a home and that need love and that need care. We're going to hop back to our conversation about reaching the next generation and close with some prayer. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right.